As I want to make a quick video here, I've come across some bombshell information, and that is we are, according to the ancient Jewish calendar, and a video will follow this introduction that explains, but we are still in spring, and spring will end at the sighting of the new moon in July, which is around July the 23rd that evening, or July the 24th in the evening. In my next to the last video I made, what we're doing is looking for a 50-day count for the true Pentecost from the original Pentecost. And the original Pentecost is dated June the 4th. So that is day count 1. So in setting this up, we have to say June the 3rd. We add 50 days to it, and the result is Sunday, July the 23rd, which was on that program, the date on the program. It would be Sunday, July the 23rd in Jerusalem, and that might be the 22nd in the United States. On the other hand, if we add 50 days from the 50th anniversary of when Jerusalem was conquered by the Israelis in the Six-Day War, June the 7th, 2017, the result is Wednesday, July the 26th, 2017. One of the comments that really blew me away in the next to last video was that this guy by that name there, what he did was did a Bible code with the phrases Hebrew year 5777, which is this year, the Jubilee year, and the word true Pentecost, when the saints rise to heaven, okay? This was found not just one matrix, but two different matrices. The first matrix that it was found was in Chronicles, and the second matrix that it was found was in Genesis 21. And in both cases, all the key words were found. And the odds of this happening just goes off the scale. I will enclose these links, but if you click on the Rapture page, but if you click on the links, what's kind of interesting, now this is the one in Genesis. It's searching for 5777, True Pentecost, the rise of the barley saints. Here's some other search codes down here. Of the True Pentecost, rise of the saints. Here's one. This is in Chronicles, again, chapter 21. But what is interesting is that it says in this code that the rapture will occur at the true Pentecost in this year, the Jubilee year, and there's an indication here that he included this year, true Pentecost, the rapture or the rise of the saints, and they added, in addition, rise of the saints to heaven, but he added war. So there's an indication that there might be war at the same time. World War III might start up at the same time the rapture takes place, which I found was extremely interesting. I mean, just to have one matrix come up with those search terms in a matrix, in a Bible code matrix, goes off the scale in probability. But when you're having actually two show up, that is unbelievable. Another person said that he was bringing up, let me see if I can find it. He was bringing up the quote that in Acts chapter 2, when Peter was giving the sermon, they had mentioned that they cried out and said, well, they're just drunk with new wine. And the new wine, at the original Pentecost, the new wine, the harvest of the new wine has not taken place. Can't find it. But anyway, that was one indication that the original Pentecost is not the correct one, because there wasn't any new wine around. I mean, that only takes place towards the end of July at this time. Another point that was brought out in the next to last video was that the rapture appears, according to the Song of Solomon, appears to be in the springtime. And that scripture in particular, it says, "Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on earth. The time of singing of the birds is come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away." So that indicates that it's springtime, that the rapture will take place. You know, the thing that really gets me is that I would say about 3 or 4 times a day, somebody posted, they quote Matthew 24, verse 36, and they say, "But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only." Okay? And the problem with this is that, first of all, 2 things on this concerning no man knows the day or the hour, basically. 2 things. In this verse, if you read the previous verse to that, what is he referring to? Let me read it. "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words will not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only." What is the day and what is the hour is he referring to? It's referring to when heaven and earth will pass away. And nobody knows when this is going to happen except God the Father. Another thing too, another thing too is that the term "no man knows of the day or the hour" is a kind of a Jewish term on the spotting of the new moon, because there's like a 48-hour period that no man knows the day of the hour. And let me play this. He's talking about the Feast of Trumpets, but it involves the sighting of the new moon, and there's trumpets blown. When the new moon is spotted, trumpets are blown.
Look at the moon and the cycles of the moon. Now, a lot of the feasts, when there was a full moon out, you knew that feast was about to begin. Now, the one feast that's interesting, that never started on a full moon, but started on a new moon, or you had to watch the new moon, was when the 7th month on the time of the blowing of trumpets. Now, what they would do at the time of the blowing of trumpets, there would be a new moon. I used to think a new moon was when the moon was full. That's not so. The new moon is when there's no moon, and the moon is about to reappear again. So what they would do is they would look up in the sky, and it would be totally dark. And this is how they knew the month was about to begin. they would see a little tiny silver sliver. The very first day, the silver sliver of the moon appeared. You had to have two witnesses who would go to the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. Then the Sanhedrin would report to the high priest that the month had begun. Now, the interesting thing, and I've told people this, and when they hear this, they say, wow, is that what Jesus meant when he said, no man knows the day or the hour of my return? It could be. And it's this, that because the Feast of Trumpets, which is a picture of the rapture of the church and the coming of the Lord for the church, because trumpets are blown at the resurrection of the dead in Christ, and the trumpets are blown when we are changed from mortal to immortality, because trumpets are so connected to the Feast of Trumpets, which is the fall feast of Israel that happens the first day of the seventh month. In Jesus' day, they didn't know when the first day was. So when they would see the silver sliver of the moon, they would announce it. Then the blowing of trumpets would begin. Now, here's the catch. There was a 48-hour window open, a 48-hour opening. Listen to this, where they didn't know the day or the hour. And you had to have two witnesses to determine the day and the hour. Oh, my. Here's. Are you ready for our two witnesses? Here we go. The Spirit and the bride say, come. The Spirit and the bride.
So basically, when they say, well, no man knows the day or the hour, it's referring to at the time of around a new moon. Okay, when do the experts on the calendars say that there will be a new moon? This is a Torah calendar, and they're saying that the new moon would be spotted in Jerusalem on Monday night, the 24th. Okay. This other calendar, which I kind of agree when I show you the star chart, I kind of believe that it's going to be this one. They're saying that the new moon will be spotted Sunday evening in Jerusalem on the 23rd, which is our count going again. That is the count or the day count to the true Pentecost, the 23rd. So they're saying on this calendar that it will be spotted on the 23rd, and the next day, the 24th, would be Av 1 Av. Okay, now getting back to explanation of the star chart, I want to point something out. The moon is always represented as the bride of Christ, okay? And the sun, this description here, the sun is represented the Father's house, or in other words, God the Father represents it. You know, Jesus said that I go and prepare, my Father has many mansions. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you unto myself. And it's kind of interesting when I show you in a second what takes place on around midnight on the Jerusalem time on the 23rd. So let's go over to the star chart. Okay, we're back at the chart, and what I want to do is kind of back this up. Let's back this up a couple of days. I want to show you something. Okay. You notice, let's back it up further. Let me switch today. You notice that Mars, which represents the war planet, it's making a conjunction to the sun. Okay? And spring ends in this video that follows. Spring ends when the sun enters the constellation Cancer. Okay? You notice the moon's coming in? The moon is representing the bride of Christ going to the Father's house to the Lord. And let's switch over to hourly and show it coming in. The moon is slowly moving in. The Mars is in conjunction with the sun. And right there, around midnight, the moon makes a conjunction with the sun. Mars is already in conjunction, the war planet. And you remember that Bible code that said it looked like in one code that when the rapture took place, that World War III, possible world war, could start up. And it's kind of interesting when the church has safely arrived in heaven, the Father's house, around midnight on the 23rd Jerusalem time, and they're safe. And look at what happens. Mars still sticks around, and let's move it a couple days. And it starts to leave Mars, in August. Could that be the time when World War III breaks out? It's kind of interesting. But the interesting thing about it is that this 23rd, when there's a conjunction with the moon and the sun, that is our date, drop dead date of the true Pentecost date. Okay? And that night, according to the calendar, which I believe that night, and I hadn't programmed in when sunset Jerusalem time on the 23rd is, but that night, more than likely, they will spot the new moon, and that would end the spring and summer would begin. So that fits the bill. The rapture occurs before the ending of spring. Now, to this other video I was telling you about.
Hi guys, thanks for coming back to the next video. I wanted to continue sharing information that the Lord gave me on July the 8th, 2017. That was a night that I received 5 dreams from Him. This is the second dream that I am sharing, and the information that I received on this dream, I received it in the same manner that I received the South Pacific information, through a dream state. I was downloaded this information. What was given to me is this right here. 8-1 is 7-1. 8-1 is 7-1. And I knew it was in regards to dates, and I knew it dealt with calendars and time. And as I was pondering over this information that was given to me, I truly understood at that particular moment. It is true. The calendars are 1 month off. The Lord said 8-1 is 7-1. Okay? Now, I'm sure you guys remember this. This was Enoch's calendar that I started working on when we started receiving some information from the Lord. Originally, He gave just the X, and He told me to put the number 3 here, 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 and here. And then up in this area, He asked me to write the word congealed. Do you all remember that? And as He was going through, He was giving me information. He gave me this information in the middle of the night. He said the fundamental 12 came from the sun reef. The fundamental 12 came from the sun reef, and we didn't know what it was. He had led us to Australia, and we were looking in the Queensland area, and we know that they have all of those Great Barrier Reefs all around, and so we weren't sure if that's what it was, and things were not lining up. And so I went to the Lord and I said, Father, can you please tell me what the fundamental 12 are? And he came back and he said they are stars. And so it was at that time that we understood we were talking about the 12 constellations. They are the fundamental 12 from the sun reef. And so as we've continued to move forward and understand, he's always been pointing us to the season of spring. And these are the months, these are the periods that fall in the spring area. It is the period of Aries, the period of Taurus, and the period of Gemini. Now, we've had several other people that have put out some videos in regards to Gemini, one of them being T.B. Shores on Seek and Ye Shall Find YouTube channel. And she put this out because of some information that the Lord gave her about the period will end on May the 22nd. And so we were all trying to understand it was pointing toward Gemini. Even the Lord had given me a lot of names like twins and dual and two and all different kinds of messages and videos that we put out in regards to this. And we were trying to understand what it was that he was trying to tell us. But what I think we're understanding now is that the time period is off by a month. Now, a lot of people have stated, well, June the 21st, which is the summer solstice day, or the first day of summer, that's already passed. Well, it has passed in the Gregorian calendar. It has passed in the Gregorian calendar. But we knew in Enoch's priestly calendar that the dates were not lining up. And we understood that at some point we were still in spring. And we couldn't understand exactly how long or where that date switched over, coming out of spring, out of Gemini, into Cancer or summer. And it wasn't until we had some information through another video that we understood that there were several different ways to count this time, but one of them being when the sun actually started to rise within the constellation. That's when you knew that that particular period was starting. So that was good news to hear, because while these dates may have been accurate at some time for this particular period, they are no longer accurate at this time. And a lot of times they were lining these dates up by when the equinoxes were there, and when the longest and the shortest days of the years were. And so what we're having to do is to go back and take a look at the stars and to find out when the sun is starting to rise within these constellations as to determine when this particular period is starting or ending. So now this is the spring. This is the spring quarter. This is the area that the Lord has been pointing us to all this time. He's been telling us spring. He's been pointing us to spring. Now we know once the sign goes into Cancer, it will be summer. But these days are not accurate. These dates are not accurate. Remember, 8-1 is 7-1, which means you're going back a whole month. So let's take a look at this. I actually have this, let me see if I can pull it up here. I actually have this on my computer. I've had it for a while. The Lord kind of led me to download it. and I really have not had a whole lot of time to play around with it, but we're going to see if we can pull up some stuff here. We're going to pull up Jerusalem, Israel, and we're going to put our date and time in, which, let's see if you guys can see the date and time here. And I'm going to, no, I don't need that. I'm going to search for the sun, because it is the sun that comes up in the constellations. And so we see here the sun, and we see what's it in. It's still in Gemini on 7/10 down here where the date is. It's still in the sun sign of Gemini on the 10th. And so let's see, that's 23. That's 1 in the morning. Let's go back to 23. Okay. And so it would be interesting to see then when it's going to go into the sign of Cancer, because isn't that the sign that we're looking for? This is the fact that it's still in spring, remember? And it wasn't going to go into summer until the sun actually started to rise in Cancer. So let's take a look at exactly when that's going to be. This is the sun right here. And this is the date, 7/10. So we're just going to click it forward. This is the 12th, 14th, 16th, 18th, 20th. Okay, we're coming close now. 21, 22, right on the very, very, very edge. You can actually say it's actually starting to rise now in the sun sign of Cancer. But I'm going to tell you, most definitely by the 23rd. You can see it's right up in there on the 23rd. So guys, I'm telling you, when we say that it's not summer yet, according to God's calendar, which is the stars, it's not summer yet, and it won't be until 7/22 or 7/23. It will not be. Here's the 22nd. Here's the 23rd. It's still in the sun sign of Gemini, today being the 10th here in the United States, the 11th in Israel, and it's still there. So guys, I just wanted to bring that to you. I wanted to show that to you. So this is saying right here then, if this is the first day of summer, once it comes into the age of Cancer, then we just saw on that other map that these dates right here need to be right here, going back a month. So this date right here is either 7/22 or 7/23 that brings it right in to the age of Cancer. Now guys, there's something else that I want to show you, and this is important information. Petra Quirky has a YouTube site, and she has been counting through where we would be in the midst of Pentecost. And she goes through on Daniel's prophecy of 70 weeks, and she puts it all out into perspective. Now, there are 2 rounds of prophecy. One is when Jesus came and fulfilled part of it when he came the first time. And this next part is when he's coming again. And so she breaks it down into several different videos so that you guys can see what it is. But guys, there's something very, very important here I want to show you. This is her notes. This is her notes right here regarding Daniel's 70th weeks. It's all about Pentecost. And in Daniel 9:24, the 70 weeks that they're talking about, look when it expires. it expires the same day that we enter in. To summer. So guys, take some time and go to her site. Here's her channel name right here. She has several different videos, and I'll even provide the link for you. But she also has the transcripts and all of the different things down here. It is a ton of information, and she has put a lot of time into it. Guys, it's all starting to come together. And I know a lot of you guys are like, are you kidding me? We're still in spring. There's no way, and we're going to have to go another year and this and that and what have you. No, guys, no. We're still in spring, and we don't pop in to the age of Cancer or to the period of Cancer until 7/22 to 7/23. So guys, I don't know what's going to happen on that day. I don't know, but I know this much. There's something significant being marked on that day. And there's something that guys, I'm watching. I'm watching. The Lord has told me it's time for my arrival. Expect my arrival. But there is some other information that I would like to talk to you all about in regards to this right here. And I don't know if you guys remember when we were going through all of these and we were doing some research on the major and the minor constellations. Do you guys remember me talking to you about that? Well, there's a lot of interesting information